Trump literally pardoned everyone from January 6th, and they actually were involved in stuff. I wasn't. And I still have a case that now we have a little issue with a ruling. And it looks like, they don't want us to get a hold of the police commissioner.
Yeah, we're going to see if we can work around that. There's a couple ways to deal with that. And, of course, I'm going to talk to you about it and what I think is the best approach. But I find it interesting because out of all the cases I've ever handled, I ran into this particular problem. And that means get to the police commissioner. Because obviously, if we get to the police commissioner, that gets to the heart of who the decision makers are. Because that's what this case really boils down to. Because we already know, we already deposed Cutter, right, who was this guy's supervisor. And he gave us some good insight into how the case against you is technically baseless. And then if you look at the matrix, if you even believe that you violated the rules, it only says 30 in a year. Doesn't lead to termination. And it goes to the very thing that the panel talked about, which they reviewed the disparity system and said it's just arbitrary. You just make it up, depends on people's political affiliations and bias. And that's exactly what happened to Sal, because I say it over and over again. If you strip it away, it's not because, I represent him. His whole case hinges on, I think. Not I can prove, but I think. And when I did the same thing with the witnesses for the city attorney objected, which is bizarre because that's what they did to Sal. I said, hey, but what about these people associated with Mr. Lucchese crime family, Jimmy Rodriguez? Oh, well, we don't know why they was associated. Well, shit, that's the same thing you don't know about him. It's just the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Such circular reasoning, and that's what I have to deal with a lawyer. People circular reason. Courts with their bias and bullshit with their circular reasoning. And see, this is all AI's catching now because years ago you couldn't get it, but now you can put reason and see how they do this illogical fucking shit too. The bottom line is Sal shouldn't have been terminated. This is crazy, the case against him. But it boils down to, we don't like you. We went after you, not because they know him personally, because, oh, he was a Proud Boy. He was this, he was that, he was this. Meanwhile, none of that association was good. What they overlooked is the important part. No, he didn't access the database. No, he didn't search this. No, he didn't do that. No, he didn't do it. Well, we think he's being a uncompensated security. Based on what? A picture. No records, no nothing. Just how do you come up with that bullshit? And that's why when you people that are saying these comments, you're being very, very insensitive because these are people's real lives. So when I do this stuff and when I argue about it, it's because I believe in it. No, someone put like $. If you knew how much work I do in these cases, you know damn well it's not the money that motivates me. What motivates me is how people get their rights trampled upon. And you wish that somebody like me come along, because otherwise they'll charge you $100,000, $200,000 for the stuff I do. The point I'm making is that the worst thing you could ever deal with life is to be falsely accused of something. And then you're fighting like hell to get out of false accusation with no basis other than I feel and I think. Who the fuck told you to think? How about proving? How do you know he's an uncompensated security guard? But if you knew that, you would know the Guardians Association did it for Martin Luther King. I can go on and on with all this stuff. Who cares? It's all First Amendment stuff. But they don't care. You know why they don't care? Because it's not them. And everyone thinks it's funny until it happens to you. It's sad.
That's what I put out. Marlon said it great here. It says, firing Sal fit the agenda of that day, which was to put pressure on cops to shut up and go along with the destruction of American law enforcement. Essentially, that's what they wanted. Now it's funny how the thing completely does a 360. Now MAGA is the way to you have to be. You see the guys that were MAGA going, whoa, what, we're not going along with this kind of stuff. It's done a complete 360. And the people that were on my side then, right, they're gone. If has anyone even paid attention, you notice how it's basically, we're sitting up here, we're guys fighting the system. But
no. Sal, let's talk about the real deal. You know how much shit I took for taking this case? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I
got a lot of shit for taking Sal's case. Oh, he's a racist. He's this, he's that, he's this. Oh, I got all kinds of shit. You know what I said? I don't give a fuck he's a racist. You know why I don't fucking care? Because he got a First Amendment right. So I took his case anyway. Not that I thought he's a racist. My point is I don't give a fuck. It's the same reason why I represented Ed Polstein, but they badmouthed me on the rant. But there wouldn't be a fucking rant if it was for Eric Sanders, because guess who represented him? I did. How he got his pension? I did it, because I was a managing attorney in another law firm when Bloomberg and Kelly went after him because he snuck things through the security booth to show that the security breach was breachable. And they went after him and fired him. And guess what happened? Settlement. Who represent him? Eric Sanders. Look it up. My point is, I don't give a fuck what anybody's politics are. What I care about is someone's rights. That's what this is all about. That's why I represent people, good, bad, or indifferent. I don't care if they're popular. Matter of fact, if they're unpopular, I want to represent them more, because that's who really needs help. Not the ones who bullshit and get drinking buddies and all that. They don't need help. They're being spoon-fed and dragged along. It's the people who don't have the power, like Faison, like Greco, and like all the other people out there. So if you think this is all a game, it's not a game until it happens to you. And the worst thing you could ever do is interfere with someone's livelihood. And then they're trying to figure out how to survive and how to do all this stuff. And then that's when suicide ideation go up and everything else. These are real people, impact real things. It's not a fucking game.
You got in the chat, Corey Pegues. Shout out to Corey. Says Eric Sanders is the effing man.
Yeah, no, I don't parse words, and believe me, if I can go in court to tell somebody judge what I think about their bullshit too, and some of your shit is fucking illogical. What the fuck are you writing? You know, I ain't following law, but I let the circuit courts write the decisions and tell them, excuse me, there's a Sixth Amendment. That's for jury. That's not for you to make a decision. They got to keep prodding them that they're trying to sit like the elite. But then when I was in law school, my professor, Rowan, God rest his soul, he talked about that. He said, you're going to go as a lawyer, you're going to cite the case, the law, the briefs, and all stuff, and be absolutely right. And you're going to get denied, or you're going to get overruled, or you're going to get your case dismissed. Why? Because the person sits there like the King Solomon. And that's exactly what happens. And that's what's happening in these cases all the time. So people think being a plaintiff's lawyer is easy. It's not, because you're fighting negative narratives all the time.